Sup, ass butts. This is a video covering what I would consider to be an optimal strategy for the initial character creation, first week of gameplay, and a general list of goals that are good to go for after that first week, that even a newbie can follow. The only difficulty setting changed from the default is the map size is set to large, which is something I'd always recommend anybody do. The only reason that the characters are renamed is so it's easier for you to understand who's who when I talk about one. This is the first character, a tiger Yaoguai intended for the Grand Chariot Law. Here is his chi sense. If you're lucky with a Yaoguai, you can get a chi sense above the normal maximum level of 20, like this one. Here are the base stats for my tiger. Perception, constitution, intelligence, and luck are all good to have at least 5 or higher in, but more than 8 is overkill and not needed. Charisma is irrelevant. Beware of this timer when going for a Yaoguai. It's how long you have before their tribulation. Less than 200 days, and you may struggle to pass their tribulation in time. Much more than that, and they are likely too weak to bother keeping. Finally, when rolling for a Yaoguai, make sure to check this menu to make sure nothing is wrong. Since we want this disciple to eventually become a Grand Chariot user, which is a metal element law, we want to completely avoid the modifier summer, and would re-roll him if he had that, while facing west would be a positive that makes him even better. Next up we have the second character in the list, a human we will be using as our first inner disciple. The most important thing for a true sun cultivator is that all 5 base stats are at least 5. Randomly rolling for a character like this may take you as much as half an hour, but it is well worth it for the ideal cultivator. Ideally you want a chi sense level of at least 8 of 20 on them, but higher is better, and a little lower is acceptable, as long as their base stats are all at least the minimum of 5. Finally, the only other thing of note for your true sun cultivator is social. Having a high initial social level, ideally as much as 15, is better, and will help you for various acts of diplomacy. But it is only nice to have, and is not as important as everything else. Lastly, we have the crafting slave. Their sole purpose is to do manual labor for you, for free, forever. High stats other than charisma are all good, and high skill levels or gold stars for skills like construction or crafting are highly desirable. Now to talk briefly about the perks to spend your points on. The starting law you pick should definitely be True Sun. It is recommended as the beginner law for many good reasons, and even when you're an expert in the game with over 1,000 hours of playtime, it is a top 2 pick. The actual perks to take aren't too important. There is nothing unique, missable, or must-have on the list. That said, luck with Manual Pavilion, or Manual Savior, if using a human will guarantee you a copy of the Soul Inquiry Manual, which is very nice to have. Finally, there is Beastly Instincts, a Yaoguai exclusive perk that will let you start with 1 Earth Elixir, and save you having to farm for one in the first few days. So now we've started the game, I recommend you immediately pause and save your game. As long as you have this save, you can always reload and try again if you mess up without doing character creation again. Don't be afraid to pause the game and think your next move through. One of the first things to do, go to your work tab and make sure your crafting slave will do his jobs. Make sure logger is turned on at least. I immediately have True Sun eat the forming pill. You should also promote your version to inner disciple using the True Sun law and set their status to mind. Now we explore a larger portion of the map. We're going to need to cut down a bunch of spiritwood trees as we need at least 33 spiritwood logs. If you don't know what a spiritwood tree looks like, they have this blue glow on the base of them. Almost any tree can become a spiritwood tree. Chop down a lot of them. We're probably going to need to cut down about 12 to 15 of them. To easily gather all the spiritwood in one place, pause the game and build a 1x1 storage area. Select it, choose filter, and untick everything other than both wood labels and the quality. Set the tier to 5. Once we've got that sorted, the next thing to do is place a material workplace and produce a bunch of timber. Then build a few basic buildings out of timber and establish our sect. The things we will need most urgently are a campfire, a material workplace or the timber station, a loom, and 2 manual pavilions. If you've forgotten to advance your True Sun cultivator into an inner disciple and set them to mind, do it now. Establish your sect and send them on one adventure to Mount Barren for some cotton. Feel free to send your guy on an adventure earlier than I did. Once you finally have most or all of the spirit wood you need, it's time to start placing it in the form of a basic cultivation array. Manually shift-click equip on the spirit wood logs 6 times to pick some up for placement. Make sure to remember to let them actually pick the logs up first. In the future, you can have your materials put on displays instead, but all we need right now is speed. To start placing your array, have your disciple move to the tile above where you want to drop a log. Drop one while paused, ban it so your disciples don't try to move it back to the storage area, and then repeat for the next tile with more spirit wood logs until you have the whole array built. So here is the finished cultivation array for this first breakthrough. Note the extra chi gathering item in the middle. You can place a cushion over the top of an item for extra gather. We will come back later to the 4 nodes surrounding the array. If you haven't yet crafted some fabric at your loom, do so and make a cushion in the middle of your array. Once the cushion is crafted, make sure to assign it to your True Sun cultivator. If it's between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m., have him eat 1 spirit stone and it's time to set your cultivator to practice. When it is nighttime, set him back to mind. When you reach one of the first 3 breakthroughs, save your game if the chance to break through is less than 100% and reload if you fail. Repeat this until he reaches the Earthfire breakthrough point. Be careful not to let their mental state drop below 50. Set them back to mind before that happens. Once he reaches or is close to Earthfire, have them transcribe their own Law of True Sun at the manual pavilions. This will give them enough inspiration to learn a few skills from it. Helios Gaze, Skyfire Meridians, Visceral Blaze, Cleansing Flame, and Chant of Cloud Dispelling. Eat your starting Earth Flux with them now, and another Spirit Stone. Now that you hopefully have your cultivator to the Earth Fire limit, let's talk about possibly the most important in the game, the Golden Core Breakthrough. There's 3 major things to consider for one, but let's have a look right now at the estimate for what would happen if we broke through right now. If we were to break through now, we would likely only get a Tier 8 core, and when lower numbers are better, and 9 is the worst possible core, that's pretty bad. So, what are the 3 things we need for a great golden core? We need as many of those breakthrough aspects like mental state, weather, and law to be at 5 green pluses, or as close as possible, as they all make a huge difference. Turning just one of those 7 from 5 red minuses to 5 green pluses will let them gain core size at a speed that is almost 5 times faster. That's one of the 3 things. The other 2 things are the amount of raw chi on your cushion, breakthrough tile which is visible in the bottom right corner of the screen, with a simple quality of life mod. The higher this number is, the slower you will lose chi during the breakthrough. The final factor is simply how high your cultivator's maximum chi is. The higher the number, the longer your breakthrough will last, and the bigger your core size will be. You can raise this by learning all the skill manuals you have that increase it, including counteractive ones, and by eating max ki increasing elixirs like the Earth Flux. So how do we raise those breakthrough aspects? One thing we can do is to cast Chant of Cloud Dispelling for sunny day weather that will help your fire cultivator's weather aspect. You can eat spirit stones after casting it if you want to quickly get back to maximum chi. Let's have another look at that breakthrough. Now we have 2 pluses for weather thanks to the sunny day. Another major thing is the season. Each of the 5 elements has a period of several days each year, where it gets the best possible result of 5 pluses, and then it decreases steadily after that. As it happens, the best time for a fire cultivator is from the 9th to the 13th of spring, right after the start of the game. Breaking through in that time is ideal, but a few days later for your first core is acceptable. Another one is your law compatibility. As long as your base stats are high and you meet all of your law's minimums, then this bonus should be high. Yin-Yang is a tricky one, but for your starting fire element cultivator, as long as their entire breakthrough happens between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m., you will get the best bonus. Mental state is simple. Let your cultivator have 95 or as close to that as possible mental state from being set to mind, or from talismans and manuals. It is better to wait a day or 2 and get 70 or 80 mental state if it's low, and lose 1 point from the season bonus, in order to get 3 or 4 extra from the mental state. Let them spend time set to mind until the 15th morning, or even the 17th of spring if it's low. Let's have another look with Sunny Day. Now the estimate is for a Tier 7 core, which is an improvement, but we can do much better. Let's solve a different problem now using those 4 extra spirit wood logs we placed earlier. The amount of chi on the cushion. If we build a tic-tac-toe board underneath the bottom right one, it will do a little jump and push all the chi around it outwards, as if you placed a large rock into a shallow pool of water. Take note of the time and continue this process clockwise from here once every hour. Let's do our breakthrough now. We're not going to get many more bonuses in a short amount of time, and the chi is slowly draining off the cushion tile. We're now up to a tier 4 core, and any core that's tiers 1 through 4 is great for your very first golden core. Now we have our first golden core, and it's at least tier 4. That will set us up nicely for the rest of the game. So, what's next? You may want to build your disciples some small bedrooms out of simple materials soon. Note, do not build your cultivators' bedrooms out of materials like fire element materials. I know you have a fire element cultivator, and you may assume that their bedroom being made out of fire materials is a good idea. As a result, it's not. That's the classic newbie mistake. Always make them out of earth and iron materials, regardless of what they cultivate. Next on the list is getting your Golden Core Realm cultivator all the way to Primordial Spirit, and raising their base stats further. You can do this quickly by learning and using the Meditate Miracle with Spiritual Breath Chant to quickly refill your chi when needed. A few days of meditation will help them to quickly advance. Learn the 2nd and 3rd levels of Visceral Blaze at Golden Core and Primordial Spirit respectively. Now that you have a Primordial Spirit Realm cultivator, many things open up to you thanks to them having much faster adventure travel times, among other things. The first interesting place we will look at is Mount Full Moon. If you send an inner disciple to go and camp there and click Enter when they arrive, you can walk around and explore this new map. You can invite a few of the local mortals there back to your sect in order to recruit them, but the main reason to go here is to go to the bottom right corner of the map and pray to the sect gate there, which will unlock a new location to visit on your map before you can normally access it. The Ruins of Taiyi. This new location is packed full of useful early building materials you can loot for building your sect in the early game. Down here we have a location we can unlock by finding and reading a Records of the Immortals Volume 1 manual. By visiting the newly discovered Ethereal Palace with a cultivator who has no condemnation, you will get a manual for a skill to give plus 20% luck to any disciple that can be taught to all your disciples, and a talisman that gives plus 45 mental state to whoever it's equipped to, so they can cultivate for long periods of time easily, and they will never drop below 45. To avoid getting condemnation, don't kill animals or mortals with your inner disciples. Here is Mount Shu. If you adventure here enough, then eventually you will discover a location called Gem Spring Cave. Adventuring here with a high luck fire cultivator will let you find 1 earth flux per trip to feed to your future disciples. A luck of 9 or higher will give you a 100% fine chance. Over here we have Mount Lucian. Adventuring here will eventually reveal a location called Wyvern Pool, which contains 9 of the best chi gathering materials for metal cultivators, which is handy as your second cultivator is going to be your Yaoguai, and he will be a metal law cultivator. Read the wiki for how exactly to get them. Here's the City of Abundance. Eventually you will want an agency here, but for now, you can adventure here and choose to search for disciples. If you want fresh meat for your sect, repeatedly doing this is the best early game way to get more. Later on you will get an event, and by visiting Nanping Village, a new location will open up called Mount South, where you can establish an agency. Send a randomly recruited disciple with high intelligence and charisma off to establish it. Agencies will be a fantastic source of inspiration for your inner disciples. Something else you can worry about early on is to grab the 2 most important formation manuals, as setting up even a basic formation will let you turn a mediocre group of cultivators into a force to be feared. One can be gotten by camping at Wormwood Valley, a location findable by adventuring in the wild south and picking up the summer herb during summer, and the winter worm in winter from the same spot. Take both, and camp at the celestial pool that's findable near Mount Nalumbo. Walk up to the steel, eat both items in your inventory, and pray to the steel for a formation manual that you can pick up and take home. The second formation manual is easily found on a corpse at Mount Coppertomb while camped there. Later on, most likely a year or 2 in, you will get a secret that unlocks a location here called the Otherworld Rift. The entry requirements are ridiculous, but thankfully they can be easily modded out. Adventuring here and doing both options gets you a number of nice items, including a manual you can teach to all your disciples that gives them plus 5 chi sense and some intelligence. Finally, and this is an important one, over here is Heavenstep Peak and the Sect Sky Dome Palace. Choose to visit them, Gift them one of your least valuable items, and now you can trade with them. Have your crafters make some bows and send them to your trade area, so you can trade these guys for access. Have your highest social cultivator grab a talisman paper and bring it while camping at Heavenstep Peak itself, once you've been granted access. Find a cultivator there called He Zudao, and become friends with them using the conversation minigame until they're at 100 relationship. Find out they like talisman paper and that their personal item is a scroll. Then gift them the talisman paper. As a show of friendship, they will drop their law scroll on the ground. Pick it up and take it home so you can read it for an entirely new law. This is important to do because one of the talismans it lets you draw, the Dark Armor Talisman, is one of the most important keys to letting your Yaoguai pass their shape-shifting tribulation later. A high-level sacred talisman with a well-drawn Dark Armor Talisman rune, along with one or two other things, will let you breeze through their tribulation. A few extra things to mention. If you open your starting Polaris casket from your perk, you will get a Soul Inquiry manual, which is a very useful skill you can use later on dying enemy cultivators in order to steal their cultivation laws and manuals. You'll also get a few other manuals that may be useful. The only other thing to note is that after spring is over, you'll be able to unlock the other 4 basic cultivation laws by completing a secret on the world map. You can have your Tiger Yaoguai learn the Grand Chariot Law then, and they transcribe the laws after building some more manual pavilions. You can have your Primal Spirit True Sun Cultivator use the 4-stat remolding miracles like Resilient, which gives you the Miracle Marrow Sanitization, which gives the targeted disciple at least plus 20% in the affected stat. Also note that you can teach them the more advanced weather miracles and other utility miracles, so that your future cultivators' golden core breakthroughs will be even better. Getting and using spectral refinement on their max chi increasing elixirs will also help immensely. Other than that, and learning new skills to raise their stats, I have no further immediate advice for you. I wish all of you the very best of luck.